Welcome. I am Carol Chalk. I'm on the Tompkins County Legislature, where I chair the county's Planning, Energy, and Environmental Quality Committee. I also, and separately, represent a group that obtained official party status in a Public Service Commission case about 2 power plants in upstate New York. We're called the Ratepayer and Community Intervenor Group. I'm joined today speaking by Irene Weiser, council member from the town of Caroline and a co-representative of the group, who will also speak, by Cris, an attorney from Earth Justice, who will be speaking, after which you'll be able to ask some questions. And we're joined by these great folks behind me, some of them here today, some not, who are elected officials, appointed local government officials, scientists, engineers, community organizers, an affordable housing development corporation, as well as individual and business ratepayers. We are the people, the institutions, and the businesses across a 20-county area, in the case of that we're talking about, who are currently being asked to pay a surcharge to cover the operating deficits of old, inefficient coal plants. And we are the ones who will be asked to build either new transmission lines or new plants and cover those deficits as well. We have a clear interest in what the PSC decides as it considers these and other energy decisions for the future. Cayuga and Dunkirk, those are the names of the 2 plants we started out examining, are just the first 2 coal plants, among others across the state, that will undergo similar decisions. And only the Cayuga plant is slated for a decision in December. As you will hear from Irene and from Cris, that decision is being fast-tracked in a manner that leaves the ratepayers out of the discussion and seems to be characterized by backroom discussion, ex parte communications between the PSC staff and the industry. These decisions are coming in the context of the state energy highway and its blueprint for delivery, which has now been accelerated due to the devastation wreaked by Hurricane Irene, Superstorm Sandy, and other climate events that have wreaked havoc on our state's aging utility infrastructure. The PSC knows this. They talked about it at this morning's meeting. The governor knows this, and they are looking at how to tweak the system, fix these piece by piece, these aging infrastructure that got damaged in the storm. But truly renewable technology is now being ramped up in other places at affordable cost, and new information has come out making it clear that methane gas, what we call natural gas, is as harmful to the climate as carbon, maybe even more so on the time frame we have to turn around the climate. The Public Service Commission's approach to the Cayuga plant is a critical one, and it's a critical decision, which will set the tone for the governor's renewed efforts to address these energy problems, as well as his efforts to develop true economic development. This case will herald to all across the state: are we responding to climate change, or are we conducting business as usual? The elected officials among us were asked by constituents about this, and we've asked the PSC, and we have not gotten good answers. But we have discovered the many ways that this current case, the one about Cayuga and Dunkirk, the way this current case falls into the same traps that got us here in the first place. In fact, we heard this morning at the commission's meeting that operating by they literally called it the good old boys network, was one of the factors impeding the Sandy response, the Hurricane Sandy response. This must be changed. It's a big problem, but it also presents a great opportunity to achieve the change that the Governor Cuomo is calling for. He knows that. That's why he just appointed Audrey Zibelman, who we welcome, as chair of the new Public Service Commission chair. He appointed Richard Kaufman to a newly created position, Energy and Finance Chair, and he elevated that position to the cabinet level. The Economic Development Councils aren't supposed to do things the way we've always done them. They're supposed to build true new economic development. The fact that the Cayuga power plant is no longer profitable, or Dunkirk, or Somerset, or all the other names you will hear about coming up, the fact that we can no longer let them pollute the atmosphere is not only a problem, it is an opportunity. The governor has created a new energy highway blueprint and the Economic Development Councils. Let's get New York State on the right lane, the one that leads to a truly renewable future. Let's make New York State the green economic powerhouse of the nation. As we said in a letter that we delivered to him just a few minutes ago, investing our hard-earned ratepayer dollars in costly fossil fuel pipelines and generators that will be obsolete as we transition to a renewable energy economy is a bad investment. It makes more financial sense to invest in infrastructure improvements that enhance our grid and that will have lasting value as we build toward a renewable energy future. We are confident, all of us here who have studied this issue for a long time, are confident that as New York makes a commitment to become a leader in renewable energy, lasting economic development will follow. Such commitment would make upstate New York, or could make upstate New York, the epicenter of renewable energy production and long-lasting green job development. New York State is facing an important decision. As Governor Cuomo defines his new energy policy, he and the PSC must not miss this opportunity to start us out on the right path to protect ratepayers, the environment, and future generations. The most important ingredient is the will. Thank you. And I'd like to introduce Irene Weiser.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm Irene Weiser, council member from the town of Caroline in Tompkins County. And I'd like to follow up actually a nice segue from Carol's words about the energy highway and this, if you will, new lane that's been created. New York's Public Service Commission will soon be making a decision whether to repower the Cayuga power plant with natural gas or to shut it down and instead upgrade the transmission lines to meet our region's electricity and reliability needs. So this will be a first case on repowering, and as such it will set a precedent. And I think we have to ask, as we do that, are we going the right way on this energy highway? At their September 19th meeting, the PSC indicated that they thought there was a way to accommodate repowering, and they directed NYSEG and Cayuga Power Plant to work together to craft a repowering plan that meets the reliability, economic development, and environmental benefits at the least cost to ratepayers. This directive moves us in the wrong direction on the energy highway. It does not make good environmental or economic sense. The PSC order implies that the reduction in carbon dioxide emissions from burning gas instead of coal is an admirable accomplishment. But there's nothing to celebrate here. Carbon dioxide is not the only greenhouse gas to be concerned about. Natural gas is 86 times more potent than carbon dioxide in creating a greenhouse gas effect over the next critical 20 years. And recent studies show that leakage from pipelines and drilling sites and compressor stations in fact does contribute significantly to global warming. This week, we've watched in horror to see the devastation wrought halfway around the world in the wake of another superstorm. How many more lives have to be lost before we take the climate crisis seriously and seize every opportunity to do everything we can to reduce fossil fuel consumption? The Public Service Commission should do everything they can to reduce all harmful emissions as much as possible. While the price of gas as a commodity may be cheap, there are many externalized costs associated with gas drilling that make it a much more costly option. Gas drilling is costly to the health of the drilling workers and residents and municipalities where drilling occurs. It's costly to the air, water, and land resources on which we all depend. And it's costly to the planet in terms of global warming. In contrast, the externalized costs for transmission upgrades are negligible. Regarding the economic concerns, let's be clear. Adding hundreds of millions of dollars to our electric bill to build a gas-burning power plant when additional power supply isn't needed is not economic development. It's a corporate bailout. From our pockets to J.P. Morgan and other Cayuga bondholders. Moreover, subsidizing non-profitable power plants with ratepayer dollars will set a dangerous precedent for other repowering decisions. How many more unprofitable plants will the public be asked to rescue? Repowering sets us on a slippery slope that risks destabilizing the deregulated market system that has subsidized power, such that subsidized power plants will have a competitive advantage over others. Soon, all power generators will be clamoring for ratepayer subsidies. Investing our hard-earned tax dollars in costly fossil fuel pipelines, as Carol has explained, generators that will be obsolete as we transition to a renewable energy economy is a bad investment. It keeps us tied to using fossil fuels for the foreseeable future and inheriting the market risks as prices rise. In contrast, upgrading the transmission lines is an investment in our future. Upgraded transmission lines are what we need to enable our grid to accommodate energy from renewable sources and distribute it efficiently. The Public Service Commission should direct its attention and our money towards investment in renewable energy installations and the infrastructure that's needed to support them. They should focus on protecting the ratepayer and not corporate interests. They should focus on building a lasting green energy economy and not short-term local development gains. And they must seize every opportunity to reduce all kinds of greenhouse gas emissions before the superstorms win. I want to just take a minute here to talk a little bit about some energy highway metaphors that have come to me as you will be reporting on this issue, I hope, as you continue to follow this and hear about it talked in other contexts, that as we drive along this energy highway, there are some important questions to ask. Where are we going? How do we get there? What priorities are taking a back seat? Who's paying the tolls and who gets a free ride? Who is driving? Who is driving? And are they looking ahead or in their rear view mirror for solutions? Are they reading the signs? Because here's what they say. Bridge out ahead. Stop. Do not enter. Wrong way. Go back.
Good afternoon. My name's Cris. I'm an attorney with Earth Justice. We're representing the ratepayer and community interveners in the PSC proceeding that's now ongoing involving the proposed repowering of the Cayuga and Dunkirk plants. The decisions on Cayuga and Dunkirk are going to be a bellwether for where this state is heading on energy policy. Is it going to be business as usual, continuing to burn dirty fossil fuels, or are we going to show some leadership in moving towards a renewable energy future? Right now, the state is at a crossroads. We have an unprecedented array of major natural gas projects that are at various stages of the approval process. We have 2 major natural gas pipelines. There is a massive liquefied natural gas facility that's being proposed for the shores of Seneca Lake. And we have these 2 outdated coal plants that are now being proposed to be repowered with natural gas. As best as we can determine, no one in the administration is taking a hard look at the cumulative impacts of all these different natural gas projects. In fact, no one seems to be paying much attention at all to the massive build-out of natural gas infrastructure that's taking place in New York State right now. So as a result of that, what's happening is that New York is actually backing itself into a corner on natural gas. We're going to wake up and find out that because of all the investments that have been made in massive natural gas infrastructure, that we have committed New York State to continue to burn fossil fuels for the foreseeable future. What is missing is leadership from the Cuomo administration and from the Public Service Commission. Just last year, the Cuomo administration issued the Energy Highway Blueprint, which called for a massive upgrade to the transmission lines in New York State so that renewables could form a more potent part of our electricity grid. It was also supposed to move us towards a renewable energy future. And yet here we are 1 year later, faced with the same old, unimaginative, and outdated proposals to continue to burn fossil fuels for the foreseeable future. To add insult to injury, just a couple of weeks ago, the Public Service Commission opened the door for an ancient coal-fired plant in the Hudson River Valley to be resurrected and to start burning coal again. So this is 1 year after Superstorm Sandy, a week after a horrific typhoon in the Philippines, and a long history over the last few years of extreme severe storm events, which are clearly connected to our changing climate. And yet we are still tied into the continued burning of fossil fuels. We can do better than this. We need to do better than this. And we call on the governor and the new chair of the Public Service Commission to honor the commitments made in the Energy Highway Blueprint and to move New York towards a clean energy future. Thank you.
We'll open up to questions from the press, and I just want to let you know that Connor Bambrick from Environmental Advocates of New York and Helen Slache of the Community Environmental Defense Council are also available to answer questions if you have questions for them.
Carol, I had a question for you regarding, I mean, one of the arguments for keeping the plant open, specifically the Cayuga plant, is it's the biggest taxpayer in Tompkins County. It's a huge taxpayer in the Lansing School District. I mean, how do you, as a county legislator, how do you bridge that gap if that tax base goes away?
Well, first of all, we don't buy that the green economy wouldn't provide jobs. Any of these alternatives will provide jobs. It's what jobs and when and where the true money will go. In the gas economy, we know that the true money, the highest paying jobs, that money is being sent out of state. Any of these options will provide construction jobs. We're either building transmission lines, we're spending a little bit of time building transitioning the gas plant, the coal to a gas plant, or we're building lots and lots of jobs, making New York State the epicenter of wind turbine development, solar panel development. There's a company in Buffalo, Solar Liberty. Liberty Solar? Solar Liberty. And we, in a month or two of trying, signed up 300 households in just 3 towns in our county looking were their houses good for that kind of development. Solar Liberty only has one team and can't get to the rest of the county for years. So there'll be jobs either way. I'd like to see the Cayuga operating plant be built as a solar, you could fit 45 megawatts of solar on that site. They could then become the Solar Liberty of Tompkins County, putting panels on every big box store and every factory in the county and managing that, making a profit. That model exists already. Tompkins County itself is building 2 megawatt solar arrays, has arrays on top of our buildings. We've got a Black Oak wind farm that was looking at building 40 megawatts of wind. In order to stay beneath some of the PSC requirements and other institutional requirements that New York State imposes, they've been prevented. And they're going to go down below 12 megawatts to stay beneath. So there would be jobs there. Further, in terms of the operating jobs for the plant, gas plants have ongoing jobs at far fewer numbers than coal plants. We've heard several different numbers. The number across the state, can anybody give me, or across the
15.
region? 15 coal jobs for every...
No, 90 coal jobs and 15 gas jobs.
90, say that again, Joe Wilson?
90 coal jobs and 15 gas jobs.
So that's how many permanent jobs we'd be looking at.
What about the property taxes, especially in the short term? I mean, if it were to close down, that would be a big hit to your budget, would it not?
Yes, it would be a hit to the Lansing town budget. It will be a bigger hit to the Lansing school budget and something of a hit to the Tompkins County budget on which I sit. However, it is already a hit. The plant, quite a number of years ago, maybe 5 years ago, negotiated a pilot agreement whereby their taxes have already been halved and are going down every year. The Energy Highway, New York State's Energy Highway blueprint, please read it. It calls for a community transitions program. My first choice would be to make that spot one of the prime green energy spots and keep the taxes and keep the jobs. There are people talking about a middle way that would be biofuel. That's not, I don't believe that that's as good a choice, but it's an option to look at. But there's a community transitions program in here. Of course, there's no link yet. The state hasn't followed through and developed that program yet, but they are planning to. Then I will also talk a little bit about the school tax formula, because the school district has been a prime player with concern and valid concern that this will affect their budget. The way the New York State school assistance formulas work, those communities that enjoy the biggest private investment, private tax base, get less money than those who have bigger need. So some of the difference would be taken up there. So does that answer your question? It won't be perfect, but we're looking at, it would compare the cost of having the state cover that somewhere between $1 and $2 million a year deficit to the combined school, county, and town, versus the $30 million a year we are currently paying the plant to meet their operating deficit, an allotment for depreciation on their taxes, and we're paying those local Lansing taxes. So that doesn't make any sense. And then to further increase our burden with the costs up to $500 million for the new plant, when on top of that we're being told by the transmission company, NYSEG, that they need those lines in any case. So we're talking between these two plants that have been lumped together in one docket at the PSC, we're talking the difference between $1.5 billion of investment by ratepayers and about $100 million. You know, do the math. Let's find another way to meet the local needs and set energy policy that serves energy policy. Let's have an education policy. Yes, I'll come back to you and talk about education policy and covering that as well.
Other questions?
Can I just tag on to that?
Come around this side.
Sure.
It's easier for me.
Just a quick answer on that too, is that you're right. There is a tax impact, no question. But if tax impact in local communities is going to drive our energy policy, we're never going to be able to close anything down. We're never going to be able to transition. We've got to find another way, or else we can send people from the towns that are clamoring to keep fossil fuels going, send them down to tell the people in Superstorm Sandy or to the Philippines why it was so important to them. Because it's got to change.
Cost to ratepayers.
Okay, thanks. Other
Thank you.
questions? All right, well, thanks everyone for coming.
Thank you.
And everyone stay and I want to take a picture.
Yeah.
With that.
Yeah, you want our papers out of the way?